So let's take a look here at what happens when we have two parallel lines cut by another line. So in this diagram below, we have line AB and line CD, which are parallel. So this little line here indicates that they're parallel. So you'll see something like that. So if I draw a little picture off to the side here, these lines aren't parallel yet. Once I put something like this here, usually you'll see a little arrow. That's common. You might see two little arrows. That indicates that they're parallel. And then it says a third line, EF, is called a transversal if it intersects AB at a single point and intersects CD at a single but different point. So basically what we have here is, like I said, two parallel lines, these two here, and then another line, which is called the transversal, that intersects the both of them. So it intersects both lines one time. So nothing too confusing here. Might be a little confusing because of the wording, but the picture here explains it perfectly. So now we have a couple different angle situations that happen because of this. And now, the only way these angle situations happen here is if these two lines are parallel. So we have to have these two lines being parallel. If they're not, we can't know any of what we're about to learn. So the first angle relationship we have is called corresponding angles. If we look here, angles B and angle F are corresponding angles. And again, like it says over here, corresponding angles are congruent. Now these angles are in pair relationships. So there is more than one of these pairs that it happens. Another pair of corresponding angles would be this angle here and this angle here. So angles 1 and 2 that are labeled. A third pair would be here, just like angle B and F, but on the other side. So we have angle 3 and angle 4 here are congruent. And then finally, our last pair of corresponding angles could be here and here. So there are a few pairs of corresponding angles in these diagrams that we have to pay attention to. So what do we know? We know that corresponding angles are congruent. That's our biggest takeaway here. And again, with these angle relationships, we're going to see some algebra involved, which is going to help us solve. So we have to make this connection. The next type of angle we're going to look at is alternate interior angles. So if you look at our diagram here of two parallel lines cut by a transversal, we see this angle C and angle F here. What we notice is that they're on the interior or inside of the parallel lines. So that's a great way to look at it. Interior, inside. So we have more than one pair of these. We just have another one labeled 1 and 2 here. Angles 1 and 2 are also alternate interior angles. And as you can see here, they are congruent. So alternate interior angles are also congruent. Another type of angles that we're going to look at from this diagram is called same side interior. So before we looked at alternate interior, now we're looking at ones that are on the same side. So same side, look at C and E labeled here. They are supplementary. So supplementary means if we add them together, angle C plus angle E, that will give us 180 degrees. Now we have a second pair of those on the other side. These are also same side interior angles. And when we add them, so angle 1 plus angle 2, we also get 180. We're going to take the time to add in just one more angle situation that was left off, and that is called alternate exterior angles. So far we have corresponding, alternate interior, same side interior, and our last one is alternate exterior. So alternate exterior are angles that are opposite each other on the outside. So opposite each other on the outside, they are congruent. So we have our pair AB as well as CD being congruent. So let's take a look at a few practice problems that show these different angle situations. So we have our two parallel lines, as always in the pictures, cut by a transversal. So for letter A, we're looking for angle A, and we're given that this angle here is 48 degrees. These are corresponding angles. So what do we know about corresponding angles? They are congruent. So that would give me that angle A here would be 48 degrees. Let's look at B. So letter B, we have this missing angle here and this missing angle here. So if we scroll back up and see, maybe we don't remember this one, maybe we don't think it's congruent. Let's check it out. So if we look up here, we have same side interior. We see same side interior means that they are supplementary. So to solve this, what I have to do is I have to do B plus 48 degrees is equal to 180. When I do that, I subtract 48 from both sides. Oops. 48. And I get angle B is equal to 132 degrees. Now for letter C, we have alternate interior angles. So these are both on the inside of the parallel lines, but it's not the same side, it's the alternate side. And what we know about this is that they are congruent. So that means angle C is equal to 48 degrees. I like to think of this kind of as a Z. It looks like a Z if you were to extract this part out of here. And when you think of the Z, anything that's on the inside of them are congruent. And then our last one is alternate exterior angles. So alternate exterior was the last thing we added in. Alternate exterior is always congruent, so angle D is equal to 48 degrees as well. Now let's go ahead and practice labeling multiple angles in one of these diagrams. So we have our diagram here. We are told that we have two parallel lines, L and M, cut by a transversal T. Now, it might not look as drawn to scale as the other images were that we looked at, but this is still considered a transversal here, even though it's not slanted. It may look straight in the picture, but we're not told anything about it, so we're assuming that it's just a transversal line that cuts through those two parallel lines. So number one, we're looking at angles 10 and 11. Angles 10 and 11 are on the same side and on the inside, so same side interior, which means that they are supplementary or add to 180. So choices B and D. Now for number two says angles 15 and 11. So we're looking at these two here. Now, the diagrams we looked at above, we didn't really see anything specific about these, but we can't forget our basics. So our basics are that any angles along a straight line or a straight angle are supplementary. They do add to 180 degrees, and that's the only thing that we can tell about them. Number three. For number three, we're looking at angles 10 and 15. So if we circle angles 10 and 15, we saw this on our images above. So angles 10 and 15 are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles, they're both on the inside of the parallel lines, but they're on alternate sides. So what we know about that is that they are, in fact, alternate interior angles and congruent. Number four, we are looking at angles 12 and 15. So 12 and 15. Again, we didn't speak about this before in the boxes above, but we have seen this. Think about our pictures that look like this with the X. Two lines crossing at a point. What we have there is vertical angles, and they are congruent. Number five, we're looking at angles 9 and 11. So 9 and 11. 9 and 11 are on the same side, but they're not on the interior. So this may be a little confusing because it's not same side in the answer. The answer here would be that they are corresponding. So corresponding angles are congruent, choice E. Number six, we are looking at angles 14 and angle 9. So angle 14 is here, angle 9 is here. Once again, we have this situation here where we have two lines crossing. We know this, it is vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent. So that is choice C. Now number 7, we are looking at angles 13 and 14. So 13 and 14. 13 and 14, we really haven't seen anything on this above, but we had this earlier. This is a straight line here. 13 and 14 are angles along it. So any angles along a straight line are just supplementary. So now on to number 8. Number 8 says we're looking at angles 14 and 11. Angles 14 and 11 are on the inside of the parallel lines, but they are alternate. So they are choice A, alternate interior angles, and they are congruent. Number 9. angles 14 and 16. So 14 and 16. 14 and 16, same side. They are corresponding. They're not on the interior. Corresponding angles. So corresponding angles are congruent. This is choice E. And then our last one, we are looking at angles 14 and 15. So let's go ahead and circle those. Both on the interior, both on the same side. So yes, they are same side interior angles. And we also know that they're supplementary or add to 180 degrees.